Welcome to the Extra Mile podcast for bar exam takers. There are no traffic jams along the extra mile when you're studying for your bar exam. And now your hosts, Jackson Mumey and Megan Saya from Celebration Bar Review.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 348 of the Extra Mile podcast for bar exam takers. Really glad to have you with us. When this episode releases, it'll be only about 10 days until the February 2021 bar exam. That is hard to believe. So we know that a lot of you are really focused and working intently to prepare for that upcoming exam. And whether you're taking it in person or online, obviously there's a lot going on right now. My co-host, Megan Saya, is taking the week off to work with students in our course and coaching them. And we thought today in the podcast, what we do would be to share with you an interview I did recently with a successful Florida bar taker. Andrea had taken the Florida bar exam previously without success. She came to the US from Brazil, had to go through the entire JD program here in the US in order to even be eligible to take the Florida bar exam. And with the use of our course and photo reading and some other tools that you're going to hear about, Andrea was able to pass. And it's a great story and it's encouraging and uplifting. And I thought it was just perfect for this period right before the bar exam. Stick around for that particular interview. Now, before we get to our discussion with Andrea, I wanted to let all of you that we have a special free training webinar coming up this Saturday. It's at 5 p.m. Eastern, that's 2 o'clock Pacific time. The title of the webinar is Now is the Best Time to Take the Bar Exam, Why You Should Ignore the Crowds and the Fear. We started this webinar back in March of 2020 when the pandemic first began. We've modified it just about every week since then to reflect the changing conditions in the bar. And there are some major changes coming in July of 2021 and beyond. And in this free webinar, we're going to talk about why we believe this is the best time to take the bar exam. That's particularly true if you're a repeat bar taker or you're a foreign bar taker or both. If you are a non-traditional student, this is a great time to be taking the bar exam. And we'll lay that strategy out for you, as well as updating you on the new and current and changing rules in big states like California, Florida, Georgia, New York, all of the states that you'll want to be interested in, and of course, all of the UBE. So I hope you'll join us for this free webinar. And the best part, I think, is that at the end, I do a live question and answer session. So if you've got any questions about your jurisdiction or about the strategy that we're offering, I'll be glad to answer those for you. So being there live really has a great benefit. Now, as I said, it's free, but you do need to register by just clicking on the button in the audio or video version of today's episode. Or you can get more information by going to celebrationbarreview.com/now. And then we'll see you Saturday, 5 p.m. live training. I think you're going to really find it helpful. If you're thinking about taking the bar anytime in 2021 now or 2022, this is the time to be finding out why now is the best time to take the bar exam. All right, I want to jump into our conversation with Andrea. You're going to learn a lot about how somebody really takes all of these different tools, puts them together, and makes them work for success on the bar. So let's jump into that conversation. Welcome back to Hanging Out with Successful Bar Exam Takers. And we have a great story and a great person, somebody that I really enjoyed working with, a new member of the Florida Bar. Andrea, how are you?
Hi, Jackson. Hi, everybody. I'm doing great. Thank you.
Yeah, we are so glad to have you here. And your story is wonderful on a lot of levels, but obviously, as people can hear from your accent, you are not born and raised in Florida, were you?
No, I'm born in Brazil and I moved to the United States 2002. I'm a Brazilian attorney, licensed attorney there. And I went through a quite process here to get my license in Florida. I was an LLM, International Arbitration, and then I was accepted the Juris Doctor program at the University of Miami.
So just to be clear to people, Florida does not allow foreign trained attorneys to come and take their exam. You have to go through a fairly rigorous process and end up getting a JD from a US approved law school. And so you went to the University of Miami, right?
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah, that's a long task, isn't it? Did you think all that would be what was necessary when you came to the US?
Not really. I was thinking maybe get my license in other states that allows LLM to take the bar directly, but life changed. I'm not in my 20s anymore and brought me to Florida. So here I am.
Yeah. You took the Florida bar in this strange exam that was given in October of 2020. It was a one-day online exam, unlike anything else. And we're going to talk a little bit about that in a minute. We'll bring back sort of those memories to you. But it was not your first time taking the exam, was it?
No, that was my second time. But the first time I had only, I knew I wasn't ready. So I decided to take the bar just to see what happened. I had 1 month only to study. So I knew for sure that I wasn't ready.
Yeah. And you came to us for that October exam, and you selected our personal coaching program. So you and I worked together, which meant that I reduced you to tears, I don't know, maybe 8 or 10 times at least. But we worked really hard. You worked really hard on your writing and your skills. And you also used photo reading. Is that correct?
Yeah. I'll
Yeah.
tell you one thing, Jackson, you're tough, but you gave me a completely different new vision of law that I needed for the time. And honestly, it was the best thing I ever done, because now I can use everything I learned with you for the rest of my life as an attorney. It's in a way, a lot of simpler way of seeing, more logical, more direct to the point, and train your brain to think as a lawyer, which when you learn at school, it doesn't feel very, I think the problem with me wasn't very convincing that that was the right way to write. So
Yeah,
yes.
and that writing process was really a big part of it, because when we started, the way that you were writing was to memorize. You worked very hard. I don't know that I had a student that worked harder than you, Andrea, but you memorized a lot and you were reciting elements, and you got very frustrated, didn't you, when I started saying, that doesn't work, that's not convincing, that doesn't tell me anything about what you know about the law. What did that feel like when we were starting in that process?
It was a shock for me at the first, because it's completely the opposite of everything we learned in law school. I guess most of law school, I don't know, I cannot talk for other law school, but I don't know if I'm lucky to learn in the same way that you were directing me to think. Like the MindMaps was amazing. I still use it all the time. Photo reading in the beginning was like, oh my God, is this going to work? Are you sure? But things start coming to your mind very quickly.
And we really started to see that. You began to gain more confidence that you knew the law between the photo reading that you were doing and the mind mapping and the work that you were doing. And as we started to work on your writing and make it more focused on the conflicts in the problem and how you use the law instead of just saying, here are the elements of the law, it started to make sense to you, didn't it?
Yes, totally. Yeah. I was at the beginning, like I said, very not sure if I was doing the right thing, but it was perfect. It worked amazing for me. That's what I'm going to be doing for the rest of my life.
Yeah. And of course, the Florida exam, for those that don't know it, was going to be given in person in July of 2020. Then it was postponed to August of 2020 and put on in an online format. And then the weekend before the exam was to be given, what happened? Do you remember?
Oh, yes, I do remember. My friends and I, we were all talking to each other at 11:30 p.m. the night before the exam, like the exam was canceled. What are we going to do now? We had no idea what exactly was going on at the time, but that was quite an amazing experience. We were prepared for a July exam and they extend September, not sure, August, not sure, September, not sure, October, when finally we had the exam, we were thinking they would take it easy on us after everything we went through, and it was completely the opposite.
Yeah, it was an incredibly tough exam, wasn't it? Yeah. So what the examiners did is they had a problem with their proctoring, and so they canceled it in what we're calling the Sunday night surrender before the Tuesday exam. And suddenly you're all ready to take the test, and you and I had talked and you were ready, and then the brakes get slammed on. And what was that like, trying to reset yourself, knowing that you had another 6 weeks or so until the actual exam?
If I remember, we had no date for the exam.
Yeah.
After canceled. So we were not sure how long it would be like in this place, but it was a marathon for real. Well, I wasn't sure when and how and what it would be in the exam or anything. So just need to keep studying every day with the same consistency that we were being studying before. It's like when you're almost reaching, I used to be a swimmer. For me, it's like almost reaching the wall and they say, no, you don't finish yet. So you have to keep swimming. But I gave everything I had. So keep going. All right. Oh, I had no more energy.
Yeah. And I think that it's really, I'm glad you mentioned being a swimmer because we talked a lot about your competitive instinct and your training as an athlete because it really came into play, didn't it? You had to really dig deep to keep going and keep working towards this thing that kept moving away from you. It kept getting further and further away, right?
Yeah, I'll tell you one thing. One of the things that I'm grateful to you, you are a very good coach. Everybody helped a lot, but it's like discipline and discipline is these three words that I had to follow consistently throughout the whole program. Otherwise, it's like swimming and die on your last lap. It's horrible. You don't want this.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I was the disciplinarian. I was the one saying, you got to stay in it. You got to keep your head in the game. You can't give up. You can't get distracted. And it was easy to get distracted, wasn't it? There was so much chatter going on everywhere on the internet, among friends, on the bar sites. Every place was talking about what this exam was going to be. And I remember we kept talking and I said, look, just keep your head down. Just keep working, doing what you've been doing. Keep working on the photo reading and the mind maps and writing essays and so on. And then we get to the exam day. It finally comes. It's an online exam. Can you talk a little bit about what that process was like for you?
I thought would be harder. Maybe I was expecting some big problems happen. I got like the first software we had to download it. I had my computer hacked. I had to buy a new computer. It was a whole process that I don't even want to get there. But and was just doing exam at school. Like when you have a clean everything, just sit and type. So I was comfortable with. I wasn't very.
Did you like taking the exam from home? Was that better than traveling up to Tampa and sitting for the exam?
Oh, so much better.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially, that you have no one, nothing in the middle. And I like it better.
Yeah. And of course, it was a one-day exam and there was no multi-state bar. There were just Florida multiple choice and Florida essays. And then, of course, they threw some very strange topics in there, like Florida trusts. What was that like when you saw those questions?
I was grateful that I studied very hard for the trusts, your classes especially, what saved me. Because it looks like you knew all the questions on trusts and states they would ask, even though it was not multiple choice. Your lessons on trusts and states is what saved me on the multiple choice.
Yeah, that's great. And so it was just a strange day. It was a long day of testing. I wanted to just talk to you a little bit about what it's like when English isn't your first language and learning to write under time conditions a bar essay. Can you talk a little bit about that?
I can try to express myself, but it's more like some feeling that you have, like insecurity, because I have a great vocabulary in my first language. In English, I had to improve everything, and I had 3 years during the law school to learn everything. One of the most important things, you have a fluent vocabulary that I can count on when I need to write. The time between processing, analyze the essay, process in your mind, and write or outline. I usually process and outline. It needs to be quite quickly. So I practice a lot of essays. I lost account of how many essays.
Yeah, I think you wrote as many essays as any student I had. And one of the things that we saw over time was that you went from relatively short essays, or you didn't get many words on the page in an hour, to actually getting a full, complete essay, really well thought out and really well presented. And I think that comes with practice and with just immersing yourself in the process. As a photo reader, and I get this question from foreign trained attorneys a lot. They say, could I use photo reading if English isn't my first language? Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah. In fact, while you were talking, just came something to my mind. Is it's the same thing that learn a process how to speak another language. For example, I don't know all the vocabularies, but some words come in my mind. I must read somewhere. And that's exactly what I think about photo reading. You just go and photo read everything, and at the moment you need, it looks like my brain make the connections, like exactly like the mind maps, make the connections and the words come.
Yeah. And when you were photo reading, how many times would you photo read an outline of a subject, would you say? Yeah, because you could read a whole subject in just a few minutes, right?
Yeah, every day it was at the end, I was photo reading every day, all the outlines and work on my mind maps.
You also took our Abundance for Bar Study Masterclass, am I right?
Yes.
Well, can you tell people a little bit about that and whether it was helpful to you?
Yes, it helps, especially after they cancel the bar. And we were like, I was a mix of anxiety and stress and everything. So that would make me bring myself and it's the way I saw is a way of meditation and positive saying to myself. So I want to make sure that I was focused on what I have to do and not what my brain was stressed, exhausted, or anxious. I want to just and that class, I'll call it class, it was very helpful to bring myself into my center, my inner, back to my place. So right, I have to be. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty remarkable. And I know that it was a marathon. I don't think there's any other way to describe it. The Florida students probably had it worst of anyone in the country because they thought they were going to take the exam and then at the last minute being told they weren't. But once the exam was over, you were done in October. What was it like when you were finished? What was the feeling?
That's funny you asking this because I'm still trying to find myself after the exam. It was so long a process of studying that I almost felt, this emptiness.
You missed me. That's what you're telling me. Yeah. They call it the Stockholm Syndrome, folks. But there is this gap, isn't there? You've been working so hard and you were studying so intensely that it just had to be like falling off a cliff, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think falling off a cliff, you knew exactly what would happen to you. You're going to die. Probably it's too high. After the exam, I'm not sure. It's like, what is, and now it's over? Are you sure?
Yeah, very different. And then it wasn't all that long until results came out. They were released about 6 weeks after. Can you tell me about what that was like on the day results came out?
I had to look several times to make sure my number was there. And I wasn't sure. I remember my name from my registration number. I had to look over and over to make sure that was the right number. It's a little weird because they don't write your name. They don't send you an email or anything. You have to go through this list with the different numbers. So I was consistently checking, is this my number? Are you sure? Pass. Like, it's awesome. It's amazing. It's an incredible feeling.
And what did your family think?
They are like, they know from the beginning. I have two sons. They know from the beginning that it was incredible, amazing. It was pretty hard task to do. And they're very proud of me. They're watching everybody. They both watching me sworn and online sworn, which was also a little different. But yeah, interesting. Everybody's very proud of me.
Yeah. And I remember during our conversations, we talked about your sons and how proud you were of them and how you wanted them to be proud of you. So you accomplished that, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
Yeah. That's got to be a super great feeling.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's a new beginning now.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about that. Now that you're a member of the Florida Bar, what comes next for you?
I'm trying to organize my thoughts if I'm going to go with my own private practice or I'm going to go and work in some law firm. I had some offers already or even government job. I'm thinking, consider and so I can get more experience, even though I don't know if I need it. I've been thinking about working some skills that I need and need both languages while I speak Spanish, Portuguese, English, and a little bit Italian. So something, of course, immigration is one of them. Family law, mediation. Not that I don't like court, but I really like alternative dispute resolutions.
Yeah.
And maybe real estate construction.
That's awesome. It's great to have that many choices. When you look back on the journey of coming to the US and then going and having to get your JD, starting all over again, even though you were a Brazilian attorney, and then having to take the bar, was it worth it to get to this point?
Now, yes. But I'll tell every one of my friends are willing to do the same thing. Be prepared. It's not what you think. It's you have to go through a lot of effort and consistency and discipline. You pretty much don't have a life for 3 years.
Yeah.
My law school wasn't easy also. So it's you have to be determined.
Yeah, and I would say that you are one of the most determined people I had met. You just were not going to give up. You weren't going to, it didn't mean you didn't have bad days, but you were absolutely determined. And I loved it when we would talk. You fought back. You pushed hard when you didn't like what I was telling you. And I loved that sense of just a desire to be better and better. You weren't content with just being okay. You needed to get better. And I absolutely think that's an incredible skill to have. I want to congratulate you for that. And you survived all those calls with me. What advice would you give people who have taken the exam and not been successful? What would you say to them now?
Don't give up. It's every exam you take is something you learned, and making sure to work on your mistakes, see what you got wrong, and do what you need. I got lessons with you for writing, and it was very helpful. So just don't give up. Working, studying.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. I'm just curious, how did you find Celebration Bar Review? Do you remember?
Yes, I do remember. I was frustrated with my results. So I wasn't satisfied with my previous bar review. And so I was looking for something different, something that would bring something extra to the plate. Not just a routine exercise, but something that I can feed on, like the MindMaps, the photo reading, the system of thoughts, the way you think, I think is what you have. And your outlines are amazing. I'm going to keep using it for projects and everything.
Thanks. I appreciate that. I'm glad. And it was really an honor to be able to work with you. I know that I pushed you hard, but it was because I really believed that you were totally capable of doing this. And we just needed to help you refine those edges and learn those things. And you embraced all those things. Andrea, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for sharing your story. We are so proud of you. We are delighted that we could be part of the journey. I'm excited to see what you choose to do from all those different things you can do. And I'm just really pleased that you're a member of the Florida Bar. It is great for the Florida Bar. It's great for you. And we love to see those happy endings. Anything else you want to share with our audience before we sign off today?
I just want to thank you because I needed somebody to guide me, and you were there.
Thank you. It was my honor. Thanks, everybody, for being with us today. I hope you enjoyed this conversation as much as Andrea and I have. It's been fun to catch up and see what's been going on. I hope that you're encouraged and just really pumped up after you've heard this, because it really is possible to be successful. And we want to thank all of you, and thank you, Andrea. And with that, we'll say goodbye. Take care, everybody. I really enjoyed my conversation with Andrea, and I hope you found it interesting and helpful as well. Now, if you'd like to know more about how we can help you pass the bar exam, I invite you to join us this Saturday, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 o'clock Pacific time, for our free special training webinar. Now is the best time to take the bar exam. You can register by just clicking on the button on the show notes, or by going to celebrationbarreview.com/now. All right, everybody, have a great week of study, very successful week as we head up towards the February 2021 exam. I know it's a big time and there's a lot going on. Keep your head down, keep working, stay focused on the work that you've got to do, and we'll see you next week along the extra mile. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening and watching the Extra Mile podcast for bar exam takers at celebrationbarreview.com.